Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ogbanje Joseph. Please hit the subscribe button to subscribe to this channel. Share and like this video. Today, we are going to be looking at an international relations theory called institutional theory. Institutional theory. Now, what is an institution? An institution is an organized body that has three major features. What are these three major features? One, continuity. Two, permanence. Three, rules and regulations. So every institution must have these three major things. There are other features of institutions, but these are the major features of of an average institution. Okay, so an institutional theory in international relations is actually a theory that emphasizes the supremacy of supranationality. Okay, the supremacy of supranationality. They also emphasize cooperation, okay, as well as the existence or the establishment of international organizations. According to institutional theory, the existence of international organizations in the global system actually guarantees peace, world peace and security. Now, in international relations, institutional theory comprises of a group of different theories of international relations, okay, such as functionalist and neo functionalist theory. Okay, what they have in common is that their focus is on the role of formal and informal rules, norms, practices, and conventions for international politics. What is important is that institutions that actually, dominate or that characterize the international system have certain formal rules, either formal or informal rules and regulations, and they also have norms. They have practices and conventions that they are ruled by. Okay, so but who are the major proponents? But before we even go to that, now what is the historical antecedents of this? Don't forget that in 1414 there's something they call the Council of Constance that came together. Is a group of European countries coming together to say, look, we need to come together, we need to have an international body that will continue to actually oversee our affairs, ensuring that there is peace and tranquility among all the countries in Europe. However, after some time, there was war in Europe, and the whole of Europe was actually locked in, in conflicts of various conflicts of various levels. But in 1648, when they met at a place called Westphalia, they now decided to actually, they decided to stop the war that was actually ravaging them. And then in 1917, okay, the first international organization was actually formed. I'm talking about global organization, which was the what? The UN. Sorry, the League of Nations. After the League of Nations was formed in 1917, of course, from 1914 to 1918, when the First World War was fought, 1917 was when the League of Nations was actually established to ensure that there is no any other occurrence of another war. But that didn't stop the occurrence of another war, because in 1939 there was actually the occurrence of another Second World War. That is the Second World War, and it existed between 1939 to 1945. In 1945, the United Nations Organization was actually formed, And that was actually the historical antecedents of what? Of the institutional theory. This theory actually insists that there is need for international organization to actually be established within the international system to ensure that there is what? Peace and security. Now, the major proponent of the institutional theory, or the major proponents, are David Mitrani, John Monnet, and John Monnet. Now, while Mitrani, in his functionalist theory, argued that the international system should be made up of slim, functional agencies that would organize, the need for peace and cooperation among conflicting states. Jim Monnet, in his neo-functionalist theory, advocated for the principle of supranationality, that is, international bodies superordinated to the nations, to the nation states, should administer the common interest of all states. Okay, so those are just the major things. Now, while Mitrani is actually basically about functionalist theory, you understand, making a case for a slim, functional agencies that would organize the need for peace and cooperation among conflicting states. He's just talking about functional agents, slim functional agencies. And that is what the functionalist theory is actually, functionalist theory of integration is actually talking about. That there should be slim agencies that will manage the conflict that actually occur between manage the conflicts that occur between states or between among states. John Monnet, on the other hand, in his neo functionalist theory, is advocating for supranationality. Okay, that is a situation in which there is a superordinated international organization that the nation states will actually be under. Okay, so that is actually what John Monnet is talking about in his new functionalist theory. Now, what are the different perspectives to this theory? The different perspectives to this theory can be looked at from the assumptions. Okay, the first and foremost is that it says that cooperation between and among nations is possible. Cooperation between and among nations is possible. What does that mean? Institutionalism relies on micro theory, and game theory to reach a conclusion that cooperation between and among nations, is possible. So when it is actually possible for countries to come together to cooperate amongst themselves. Okay, that is number one. Number two, institutions can overcome the uncertainty that undermines cooperation in the international system. So unlike the realists who doubt that cooperation can bring peace and tranquility to the international system, institutionalists actually argued that the international system or international institutions, are defined as a set of rules, norms, practices, and decision-making procedures that shape expectations and can overcome the uncertainty that undermines cooperation within the international system. Okay. Then number three, increased information about states' behavior, is actually possible with the institutionalist theory. Okay, the institutionalist theory actually argues that institutions increase information about state behaviors. Okay, unlike the realists who doubt that cooperation, can be sustained with global uncertainties. This is because institutions collect information about states' behavior and often make judgments of compliance, or non-compliance with particular rules. What it means is that they are insisting that states will continue to actually abide by rules and regulations of the international system, having belonged to international organization or international institutions. Okay, that's what the institutionalists is actually talking about. The next one is that is actually emphasizing increased efficiency among states. So the institutionalists actually believe that institutions can greatly increase efficiency because it is costly for states to negotiate with one another and in an ad hoc basis. Okay, so institutions can reduce the transaction costs of coordination by providing a centralized forum in which states can actually meet, to discuss their issues. Okay, so those are the major perspectives. Now, but let us look at, the application of this theory. What is the application of this theory? Now, we have actually seen that the institutionalist theory is advocating for supranationality of international institutions. That is the subordination of nation states, okay? Subordination of nation states, okay? And that these a supranational institution should administer the common interest of states. What does that mean? It means that in applying it to the international system today, we have, okay, United Nations organizations that ensures that all the countries of the world, their interests are well protected when it has to do with security, when it has to do with economy, when it has to do with peace, when it has to do, with some other aspect of life, that is actually very important to them. That is why they have provision for both the developed and the developing countries. Now, when we talk about the MDGs, the SDGs, the structural adjustment programs, the IMF program, and all of that, these are institutional decision making or institutional decisions that have been put across to ensure that countries that are actually weak, countries that are down the ladder, are brought up. Okay, countries are actually properly provided for. That is exactly what it is. Okay, so in applying this, we can say that international organizations are put in place for the purpose of actually ensuring that they take care, or they actually provide, for the common interest of all countries that are member countries. Okay, David Mitrani is actually talking about agencies that will organize, that is, he's talking about slim agencies that will organize the need for peace and cooperation among conflicting states. Now, these slim agencies are, sub-regional organizations. Today, we have sub-regional organizations. We have in West Africa, we have ECOWAS. In Southern Africa, we have SADC. Okay, in East Africa, we have East Africa Development Commission. We have EU, we have AU, and all of that. These are slim agencies that are put in place to ensure that, that the peace and cooperation among conflicting states are properly handled. Okay, so today we have international organizations such as the Security Council, okay, and some other agencies of bigger bodies that are put in place to ensure that, there is peace and security, in the globe in general. Thank you very much.